Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 2 of a Look Back with Mac podcast. I'm Michael McKenzie, DJ Yoakley joining me once again. And episode, big hit the first time. Let's hope this one hits off just the same, DJ.
Not too shabby, man. Over 1,000 views on episode 1. You're starting to have your own little Star Wars trilogy here going.
Well, let's hope it keeps going that way because I haven't seen the second Star Wars movie, and I'm going tonight. Have you seen it?
This is episode 9, Mike. I think you're a little bit behind the times here. Now, we figured out you were born in 2004. So the first one came out, I believe, in late 1970s. I want to see 78, 79. Yeah. Have you ever seen those ones?
Yes, I have. My dad's a big Star Wars fan.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Huge Star Wars fan. I've watched all the movies. So.
Okay, so what's your favorite so far without seeing the latest one? In my mind, there's only one answer.
Probably gonna get it wrong, but episode 4, but it was the first one that came out since they skipped it.
A New Hope?
Yes.
Okay, the one with Darth Vader that introduces to everybody.
Yes.
Okay, well that's respectable.
First one they put out, but it was episode 4 since they had skipped that.
I'm a Return of the Jedi guy, so
okay.
Luke Skywalker,
that.
green lightsaber.
Yes.
That's where I'm at.
Yes.
So. Yeah, I've heard mixed reviews on the new one. So you're going tonight to see it?
Yes.
What are your anticipations going into it?
I don't know, just kind of like all the plot holes to be filled up because there's been a lot left in the last 2 movies.
Who's your favorite character out of everybody?
Everybody. Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, all right. See, there's the right answer. A generation that is lost because you have all the younger generations, such as yourself, that like Rey or Poe Dameron or anybody like that. I am a Luke Skywalker guy through and through.
Skywalker all the way.
Are you a Yoda guy?
Yes, like Yoda? I do like Yoda.
Have you watched The Mandalorian at all?
No, I have not.
Okay, so you got to get on that because I think you would like that. I think you would enjoy that, and your dad especially, right. If he likes.
Yeah, I think he's actually watching a little bit of it.
Is he? Okay, and does your brother like Star Wars too?
Yes, he watches it too.
So your whole family revolve around Star Wars. That's awesome. We're not here to talk about Star Wars, are we? We're here to talk about sports.
We're here to talk about sports, and we usually go through high school, but with Christmas break going on for all the schools, not a lot going on.
Nothing happening.
Nothing really, so we're just going to skip to college. College football playoff just happened, and for the Ohio State fans, very disappointing result. We'll start with LSU, Oklahoma, and Joe Burrow.
My hero.
I hate to say it, but I love him. He's definitely going to go number 1 overall. 7 touchdowns, 400-plus yards in one half. And I said Oklahoma's defense had a little bit of a chance.
You did?
I sound like a fool right now. Terrible pick.
But who would have?
I picked LSU, but I
feel like LSU has that chip on their shoulder. Like nobody's respecting them, and even though they are where they are, they're ranked nice at number 1. They still feel like they're not getting the respect that they deserve. And listen, I have not felt this way about a quarterback since Peyton Manning. I think Joe Burrow is the guy that can carry the shield. I think I said that last time.
You did say that last time.
And I think that more now than ever, I think he is the guy that carries the shield, cleans up the shield into the next millennium, and we are going to see next millennium. Here I am, the next 10 to 15 years, and you're going to see a lot of Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. Who's better? Who's the better quarterback? Same as you see Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, who I still don't think has necessarily enough credit to his name.
No, he doesn't.
For what he's done.
He doesn't.
But Joe Burrow made a believer out of the world, I think, and Cincinnati's going to have a good one. I'm hoping that somehow, some way, he slips through their fingers down to wherever the Steelers don't pick. So we won't get him. But maybe we make a move to go up in the draft to get a guy. It won't happen. It'll cost us an arm and a leg, and then probably the other arm too. But imagine, Joe Burrow. How do I explain it? Is Cincinnati, can he turn Cincinnati around?
He can get them there.
Get them where?
He can get them to the brink of a turnaround. I still think they need pieces. One player, even if it's like Joe Burrow, a generational talent, they need more than just a quarterback. They've got Joe Mixon at running back, but A.J. Green, he's done.
See ya.
Tyler Boyd, I think he gets too much credit for what he does. I mean, he's the only wide receiver, really.
He's Juju.
Yeah,
I mean,
man.
really. He's a good number
Juju.
2. He's never going to be your number 1 guy.
No. They need a true number 1 guy. I don't know where they're going to get that. They might have to go to the draft to get that in the second round. They might have to go to free agency to get a number 1 wide receiver. But they get a number 1 wide receiver, look out.
There's a guy that's hanging around out there. It's
He's going to screw it up. Somehow, some way, AB would screw his way. He already screwed his way out of New Orleans.
Yep.
And he goes there, they win a Super Bowl. I don't think there's any doubt.
Right. But I don't think they want to screw up what they're doing right now.
No.
They have a nice little pace going.
They do.
But I'll tell you what, you get Joe Burrow, a nice little receiver, would be Antonio Brown, would it not?
It would not be. It would be Antonio Brown. It wouldn't be
And
any
then
other
what do you
guy.
have to lose? I mean, Burrow, he's coming in with a lot of hype, but he doesn't have that stardom yet in the NFL the way he does in college football. So you have an Antonio Brown, even though I believe he's absolutely a lunatic. It's a scenario where it presents opportunity for Antonio to be the lead guy, take credit for what Burrow's doing. Burrow can't say anything because he's a rookie.
Yeah.
Buy yourself a couple years with Antonio Brown, and all of a sudden you got something in Cincinnati. Automatically, if Joe Burrow and Antonio Brown are together, I'm telling you this right now, they are automatically a threat. And not
I
only
don't think
that,
there's any doubt about it.
but the Browns go back to the cellar. That's my personal opinion.
They do. That's the honest truth. They go back down to the cellar because right now they have the Bengals to kind of cushion them above that. They had that last year when they fired Hugh Jackson.
Yep.
Then they brought in Greg Williams, which still baffles me that they didn't hire him as the head coach.
Unbelievable.
They would easily – I think that they would be flip record. I think they would be 10-6 with Greg Williams.
I agree with you.
Greg Williams is an amazing coach. Look what he did with the defense in New York.
But let's be real. It's not just the coach. There's
a lot of personalities in that room.
Exactly.
A lot of hotheads.
All those, and we're both Steelers fans, right? So we can say this because we've gone through it.
We have.
All those Browns fans that are laughing at us, ha ha, you guys, you should be on ETV because that's all you guys are is a drama. Well, look how the tables have turned. It's incredible to see, and these Browns fans are so surprised. But if you look back, the majority of Steelers fans will sit there and say, as soon as they got Odell Beckham, it's coming.
Yeah.
It's coming. And it's going to be knocking on
especially
your
when
door.
you have a coach like Freddie Kitchens. Not to knock on Kitchens. He did great things with Baker Mayfield last year as the quarterback coach. But promoting him to head coach was a reach.
Well, he was an
to get
OC
a head coach.
and
He
a
was
head
an
coach
OC
within a year of
and
each
he was
other.
the quarterback. He was
Yep.
the quarterback coach, then the OC, then the head coach.
Yep. That's climbing the ladder quick.
It is.
And like Mama used to say, when you're climbing a ladder, let's go one rung at a time. And I think
He went about
Freddie,
5 at a
I think
time.
Freddie Kitchens,
Oof.
John Dorsey, all those guys, they pulled him right up the ladder, and I don't think he was necessarily ready for it.
No.
But that's kind of I'm sidetracking us as normal. It's what I do to you. I throw you off base.
I sidetrack a lot too.
But as far as Joe Burrow goes, I think he is set up well for a legacy, even in just a season at LSU. And what you're seeing now is the majority of the Ohio people getting behind. I'll be real. I ordered a Joe Burrow jersey, straight up. I ordered it.
LSU Joe Burrow jersey?
LSU Joe Burrow jersey. I'm gonna rock it. I can't wait. It'll probably be on this podcast at some point.
Okay.
But I'm excited. I love the guy. I can't wear a Cincinnati jersey just because they're the Bengals and I'm a Steelers fan. That might be the one jersey I can't wear. That's that.
You
and the
can
Ravens.
wear a Browns and a Ravens jersey.
I've never worn a Ravens jersey. Right now I'm wearing Ravens colors, coincidentally, but it's not for the Ravens. It's because I like this hat. I've worn a Browns jersey before at a Browns game. My aunt had season tickets. Listen, look at this look I'm getting right now. Look at this look. Yeah, that's the look I get. Is that the same look you get when you're in trouble at home? Yep. See, I've worn. If you dig deep enough on Facebook, you can find me in a Browns jersey. I have an abundance of Steelers jerseys. I have both Peyton Manning, Colts jerseys, and I have one of the Denver Broncos jersey because Peyton Manning is my favorite player of all time. I have Tom Brady jerseys because I love greatness. I just have it just because.
Okay.
It's deep in the closet, but it's in there. But the reality is I could never bring myself to wear a Ravens jersey, and I will never bring myself to wear a Bengals jersey. I just do not like those two teams. Do not.
No.
And even though a Joe Burrow will be playing for the Cincinnati Bengals, I will have to root against him, which kills me. An Ohio guy, an Ohio quarterback.
Goes to play for an Ohio team.
But it's not.
It's a story. It's like a storybook, a fairy tale.
Like, even if Burrow played
Script.
for Cleveland, I would root for him secretly. I'd be that guy. Like, okay. If they beat the Steelers, that stinks. But, man, at least Burrow got his. I can't do it with Cincinnati. Like, Vontaze Burfict ruined all that for me. Those playoff games.
No, and don't forget about Pac-Man Jones.
Well, Pac-Man Jones, that whole crew. Carson Palmer, I hate Carson Palmer. If my girls are listening, I don't like him. I don't hate him, but I don't like him. We're not supposed to use hate in our house. I just think that those are the two teams, and Burrow's going to have to be that guy. He's built his legacy at LSU. I think he wins the national championship. Clemson's going to put on a good show, but Joe Burrow is the king in waiting in the NFL.
He is. And we have to talk about the Ohio State-Clemson game.
Go ahead. I've got an interesting take I'd like to pass by you.
Okay, just going to go over what happened. 0 for 3 in the red zone to start the game. And not to knock on what J.K. Dobbins did. He played the best game I've ever seen in a run
Tough as nails.
Ohio State running back since Ezekiel Elliott in that national title run.
Remember what we talked about last time?
Yes, you said it. He's better than Ezekiel Elliott. And I think that he earned that label. 2,003 rushing yards in
That's
one
incredible.
season.
Better than one of the greatest running backs.
Eddie George.
Yep.
Better than Eddie George. Better than Ezekiel Elliott. Best single season best rushing performance in a single season, I should say, in Ohio State history. He deserves it.
And then what?
But in the red zone, couple times, 3rd down and goal, Fields might have put out a throw too far in front of him, but can't make the catch in the end zone. And then the 2nd and 15, screen play straight to Dobbins, wide open. He makes that catch. That's a touchdown. And he dropped it because he got too anxious.
I'm with you. And I think that's one of the points that JK has to work on because he declared. And now he's going to have to work on his hands coming out of the backfield.
Yeah.
However, the good news is
great game.
What happens? Because of that, that's on tape. Now he drops in the draft. Could he drop all the way to the 2nd round? Could he drop to the 2nd round?
I think nobody. He could drop to the 2nd round, but if I was an NFL executive, J.K. Dobbins is the best running back in the draft. I don't care if Jonathan Taylor declares or anybody else. J.K. Dobbins is 100% the best back in the draft. You're not going to find a back that has the speed, strength, and physicality of J.K. Dobbins for a long time.
ETN impressed, though.
ETN.
He balled out.
That was insane.
That was unbelievable.
They couldn't account for ETN in the pass game, and they couldn't account for Lawrence in the run game. And that's what hurt them in the end. 67-yard run by Sunshine. I don't know how you're going to be able to stop that. It did match the
within
Dobbins
a yard,
run.
I guess. But I mean,
it's the same outcome.
Whose was more impressive? Dobbins or Sunshine?
I'm going to go with Lawrence's.
I would agree.
Because he's the quarterback. He's not supposed to run like that. And he's not known for his legs.
Did you see the Jets?
He
20 yards?
Turns on the Jets.
Holy cow.
And he made about 3 guys miss.
Now, give credit where credit's due. Dobbins put that juke on.
Oh, yeah.
And
he puts the juke on the linebacker, and then the safety just took a terrible angle.
My man is still looking for his ankle out in Phoenix. So it's interesting to see. It was a good game.
It was a great game.
I will say that, and I know you were heartbroken. I didn't text you, even though I had it all set up. You probably saw the bubbles during the game. I was sitting there, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to leave Michael alone. He needs his moment of zen to kind of take this one in, because I knew you would have a good take. But let me tell you about my take. And there's a couple different things that I have going on here. I went to a small school. I went to Westminster College in Pennsylvania. I have no allegiance to Ohio State other than the fact that I'm from Ohio, right?
Yeah.
And I always questioned, if you go to school, if you go to college, and it's not the college that you root for in sports, do you really have a leg to stand on when it comes to that? So if you go, let's say, where do you want to go to school?
I don't know. I'm
putting you
going
on the
between
spot.
like Waynesburg, Syracuse, and Northwestern, like
Okay.
big sports broadcasting schools.
So when you look at that, you're going for a career, and I get that you want to root for your team that you grew up rooting for, but like there's people that go to Syracuse and they still root for Ohio State, and I go, wait a minute, you're investing $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year to get your education. You're not going to root for your team. So here's my question: halfway through the game, and listen, the Browns and Buckeyes are very similar in the fact that the Buckeyes are winners, career, and the Browns are career losers. So what you get is a lot of Browns fans on Saturdays that transfer into the scarlet and gray. And on Sundays, they transfer into the orange and brown. Halfway through the game, I went from rooting full speed ahead for Ohio State to I rooted for Clemson openly because I was tired of the complaining. I was tired of hearing it's the refs' fault.
it's
It's the refs. Listen,
but Ohio State needs to capitalize. Finish your take.
That's
and then
it.
I'll take that.
they do need to capitalize. They do need to start punching in 6s instead of 3s. Make them 7s, right? They make those 7s, they win that ball game.
Yeah.
Because they put Clemson so far behind the 8 ball that they're desperate. The targeting, I get it. Shouldn't have happened. Shouldn't have been called. The incomplete, complete pass, fumble,
Oh
I get it.
God.
I get it. Referees are built to make mistakes. But I would say this. When you're in a position to put somebody away, you got to put somebody away.
You do.
And at the end of the game, for anybody, coach, players, announcers, and fans, to be able to point the finger at anybody but themselves or their team for not being able to finish what they started, don't blame the referees. Don't blame anybody but yourself for falling short. The offensive coordinator, finish the drive. I mean, they were inside the red zone.
3 times in the red zone, 0 for 3.
If you're the best damn team in the land, you've got to score. You've got to be the best damn team in the land. If you come up 0 for 3 inside the red zone, you're not the best damn team in the land.
No.
You're not. So that's my take. Half the game, and this had nothing to do with the score. This had to do with looking on this little beauty right here. My phone, where's it at? There we go. Looking on that and seeing all the crybabies on Facebook, on Twitter, calling for the referee's head when it was Ohio State's problem in the first place.
It was, and I said this openly during the game. We can't keep settling for field goals, and that was the second time. If we keep settling for field goals, we are leaving the door cracked open for Clemson, and they can open it within the span of 2 drives. And that's exactly what they did before halftime.
How long did it take for them to come back?
It took
One
them.
hit.
Yeah.
One hit on Trevor Lawrence, and all of a sudden they're scoring touchdowns at will. And that was
And don't forget the pass interference inside the 5 on Amir Reep committed.
I get that, but man, again, finish your drives. Your offense is supposed to be so good. Oh yeah, we can hang with anybody. Last year, when all we heard was it should have been Ohio State, it should have been Ohio State. Like, how many people are out there saying, well, it should have been this team, it should have been that team, it should have been us? Listen, you got to cash in. You can't say we should be there and then complain about the refs whenever you're there.
Yeah.
Finish the job. That's all it is.
Of course you have to finish the job. And the penalties, the roughing the punter on 4th and 6. I mean, you have a couple bad pass interferences.
Why do they rush
On the
that,
drive.
by the way? Did you,
Because they tried to, okay, so I've kind of gotten a knack for what Ryan Day tries to do.
Okay.
Towards the end of quarters and halves, he tries to go in and block punts, get the ball in a great position, try
catch
to
them
score
off
a touchdown.
guard or what?
No, he doesn't. Everybody knows this strategy.
it's coming.
That it's coming.
Okay.
Especially when you see the lineup that he put out there. I think he put like 10 of the 11 guys on the field right there, ready to block.
Okay.
They're going after the punter. So, and Clemson's punter smartly got the kickoff quick, went in the air, and forced punishable contact to get a 15-yard penalty that resulted in a touchdown. And that's just Day's strategy. He wants to get the ball in a great position instead of just having a fair catch it and go into the locker room with whatever lead you have. even if it's 42-0 against Maryland or 16-14 in the playoff against Clemson. I don't know why Day tries to do that. Came back to bite him finally, but that's one area where he needs to clean up. He just can't be aggressive all the time. I mean, they were aggressive to start the game, even though they went 0-3 in the red zone. It worked. 16-0 hole that easily could have been 24-0.
Yep. And at 24-0, they don't come back.
No,
I'm going to make
they're not coming back.
Easy to be
Even
Monday
if it's
morning
a
quarterback.
targeting.
It's easy to be Monday morning quarterback. But if it's 24-0, you put that steak on the griddle, she's done. She is done. Stick a fork in her. Because I don't care who the quarterback is. And here's the other thing. The receiver that was out doesn't come back. 24-0, he's out. He's done.
They're going to keep him healthy.
Yep. Well, and they're just going to say, listen, man, we're behind the 8 ball here. That's it. You know, put a fork in him, he's done. So from your standpoint, here's another thing. Ryan Day got out-coached.
I'm going to say this. He got out-coached for the last 2 quarters. The first 2 quarters, he out-coached Sweeney in Clemson. I will say that.
See,
when it mattered the most, he got out-coached, but to start the game, he out-coached Clemson.
I would be interested to hear your dad's take on this. And you probably have an insight, and you don't have to put it out there, but I bet he was fired up.
Man, and the immediate reaction after the game was over from him was, we have to capitalize on the red zone. You know, those referees, I guess they made the right calls. And then I wake up the next morning, his tone is completely changed. He looks at the plays a little farther, and now he's on the side of, you know, those are 2 terrible calls that are game-changing. I mean, you still have to finish the game, but the take that I can see from everybody's standpoint that's complaining about the referees is, when you got a game and it's Ohio State and Clemson, 2 juggernauts, 2 heavyweights going punch for punch at each other, you can't miss those big calls. You can't get those wrong. Same thing happened in the Wisconsin-Oregon game. The pass interference on, what was it, Wisconsin on 3rd and 5 that they convert. I think that was a missed call. Chris was unhappy about it.
But at the end of the day, like,
you got to finish.
Don't stop blaming referees.
Yeah.
They're going to make mistakes. But that's part of the game. I mean, that's to the extent of managers in baseball arguing balls and strikes. There's just a code.
It's not going to work.
You just don't do it. You just don't do it. And I understand if it costs you your season, like apparently it did for Ohio State.
It did cost Ohio State's season.
No, it didn't.
The referees.
False. You just talked about it. What cost Ohio State their season?
What cost Ohio State their season was a combination of things. Red zone going 0-for-3. Last drive, miscommunication between Olave and Fields. Roughing the punter.
3.
Targeting.
4.
And the targeting, it's a terrible call because Lawrence ducked into it, but by rule, that's targeting. It was a good call, I guess. They need to change the rule because it's terrible that even if he ducks into it, a 6'6" quarterback ducks into a 6-foot.
I would agree with that.
But they need to change that in the offseason.
But until they do,
by rule,
it's been the same since it was installed. So you know that you don't lead with your helmet. You lead with your shoulder pad. If he hits him in the head with the shoulder pad, is he still in that game?
No. I mean, no, wait. I was expecting you to say, is he still going to be ejected?
Yeah.
No, he's still in that game. And you keep Wade in that game.
Don't be that guy. Don't say one guy changes the tide. I understand he's impactful. But
he guards
the biggest impact is this. He stays in the game, yes. But that becomes a 4th down. They punt the football. Ohio State can capitalize, most likely does, with at least 3 points, and then the game shut off. That call, that play,
that swifted the entire momentum of the game.
Every bit of it, because it gave a second chance to a team that was desperate for a second chance. And when you do that, and you talked about 4 things that Ohio State had control of. You can control your attitude. You can control the things that you can control, right?
Yes.
If you're supposed to be an offense that scores at will, go score at will. If you're supposed to be a team that's supposed to show restraint on hitting a punter, then show restraint on hitting a punter. If you know that you're not going to get him, you're not going to get a piece of that football, back off, dive away. And listen, I know I'm not that uber athlete that these guys are, but get away. Be smart. There is a national championship at stake. Your draft stock is at stake. And at the end of the day, You got situations where Ohio State did not control the things they needed to control, and now they need a scapegoat, and the refs are standing right there. Because guess what? This is a situation like in school that if you fail a test and you didn't study and you didn't answer the questions well that you were supposed to answer well, you take the heat. You failed it, not the teacher. And that's these Buckeye fans. I'm so annoyed with it because it's the same as every Sunday that it's somebody else's fault and not the Browns. It's these Browns fans are now Buckeye fans, and now they're pointing the blame at somebody else because they don't want to believe that they are not the best team in the country. Clemson and LSU deserve to be in this football game. Clemson made it clear the second half of the football game, and LSU made it clear with abundance every snap of their football game. So that's my take. I know it's not going to be popular, and I know you don't like it, but I
kind of respect it.
I was so – it just drives me nuts. Like, accountability. Accountability is key in everything. Ohio State lost that game. The referees did not hand that game to anybody.
They did. They didn't hand the game. Ohio State did. But
hashtag SEC refs. If I see that one more time, I'm going to lose my mind. Gonna lose it.
Okay. But what I can see from everybody else is that are complaining about the refs. I'm going to give you this viewpoint because some Clemson fans, I mean, we all know that was a catch and a fumble.
Right.
And anybody that denies it, I don't. Their
but how do you give credibility to people that literally tell you that J.K. Dobbins caught that ball in the end zone?
Okay, he didn't catch that ball.
Bingo. But
he didn't catch.
But you know what we get? Oh, that's a touchdown. And then 3 seconds later on Twitter, if it were Clemson, that would be a touchdown. Stop it. Stop. And
their touchdowns all came on big plays.
And then an hour later, that's a fumble. Like, listen, you lost your credibility an hour ago. You lost it. It's gone. Stop. Like, when you say stupid things, you become a stupid person that nobody listens to on Twitter, right?
Yeah.
That's the end of it. So always a little here. While we're at it, a little lesson on credibility. Don't say dumb stuff and then completely do the opposite an hour later, right? Don't ask for the credibility. And that's part of being a journalist too. But now that Twitter is an open forum, everybody's a journalist. And I just look up and down Facebook and I go, my goodness, there are so many pundits out here and critics and experts that know everything about everything, and they're going to tell me or tell the world where they stand. Like, guys like you that interpret the game, love it. I love it. And I know I'm on a soapbox here, but at the end of the day, Michael, Ohio State lost the game. They lost. The referees did not hand it to anybody.
No.
And I'm tired of the built-in excuses that we just pass the buck whenever we don't get our way. Take accountability, responsibility, whatever it is. Man alive. Because you told me straight up, man, we lost the game. 0 for 3. You got to punch it in. That's how you started. And now you're kind of teetering back towards referees do have some bad calls.
But, I mean, you go 0 for 3 in the red zone. You can't expect to win a football game.
Not unless you go 7 for 7 in the second half. You know what I mean? And you're just pounding it down their throat.
Or unless your defense is able to keep their foot on Clemson's throat like they were that entire first quarter.
Agreed.
And then they just let go.
Yep.
That second quarter, you let ETN just power his way into the end zone. When you've been powering them down the entire game, and then you let Lawrence run right down the field, 67 yards for a touchdown, your defense has to keep the foot on the throat of Clemson that entire game. They should not have given up 29 with the way that if they play that first quarter, the whole game, they might have given up 14.
I will say this though, that last drive,
the 4-play 90+ yard drive.
No, the Ohio State last drive.
Oh man, they were driving.
I thought they had it, man. I thought the game was over. I thought when he released that, I was like, well, there's a touchdown. He saw something that he loved. He didn't hesitate. He threw the ball right to the end zone.
Especially when you see Dobbins coming over the middle, and he had loved that the entire drive.
And
Olave broke off the route.
When they cut to that second shot, I just went, ball game. I knew it. because there was 2 Clemson guys hanging around. That ball was nowhere close. But I will say this, courtesy to the receiver for taking the heat. He came up and said, I did it. I was the one. It wasn't Justin. It wasn't, it was me. I ran the wrong route. And the announcers did a good job of summarizing it and saying he saw something, but Fields and Olave were not on the same page.
No, Olave thought Fields was going to scramble, and Fields thought Olave was going to keep coming over the middle for the exact same play that worked for a touchdown on the last drive.
Because what you do is you separate everybody to the corners, and it opens up the middle, which is where they wanted to go. And where Olave thought he was going to go, because to your point, that's exactly what they were doing. But it didn't happen. Fields thought he had a man. He thought he was going to put a 50-50 ball up there, and it turned into a 99-1 ball, and it all went to Clemson. So give me this number, your disappointment factor after the game, immediately after the game, and then
on what scale?
1 to 10.
Immediately after the game, about an 11.
Wow. Well, that's right. You are the homer. And then 24-hour rule.
24-hour, probably about an 8. Because, oh man, I still haven't been able to get over it.
Clemson is a good team.
They're a good team, but we had that game in the bag. If Dobbins makes those 2 catches, he holds on to the first one, and then he makes the catch on the screen for the second one. Game over. But he couldn't, and we had to settle for 2 field goals. The first drive I can deal with. But the second 2, we had the touchdowns. And no discredit to J.K. Dobbins. He had a great game. But he drops it. 2 touchdowns.
You're putting this on J.K.
I'm not putting it entirely on J.K., but there's a great deal of it on him. Because he's such a great running back that maybe he didn't focus too much on the pass game.
All right,
and that hurt him.
Said, okay, coach, who's the arrow point to for the one that should be able to take this L for the team? Team game.
The entire team.
That's the coach's son in you. The entire team.
Because the defense, you can't let up a 4-play 90-plus yard drive.
Stop them.
Under 2.5 minutes.
That looked like it was on Madden. That looked like it was on a video game. That was incredible to me. It was like Ohio State.
And I was fine with it at first because of how much time they left. 1:49.
Do you think that was part of the plan? Give us the football with the game on the line.
The plan wasn't that. The plan was to stop them. But when they cross that 50, I think the plan is let them score.
Yep.
Give Fields the ball back. He's going to do special things. And he was doing special things. And then Olave cut to the corner.
Can I give a little bit of credit to Dabo Swinney? I love Dabo Swinney.
Him and Venables get a lot of credit.
I think he controlled that game. And I'll tell you what, the buy-in he has on his program is one that coaches everywhere should look at and try to replicate. Because his guys love him. He put a slide inside their facility. So the guys get ready, they get dressed, they slide down into practice. He's just a guy who loves fun. He plays knockout with his players, and he gets intense. He's part of the team. There's so many coaches that want to – I don't know if do you have ESPN Plus? So if you do, or you do at home, make sure you watch Battle Tested and watch the way that all the coaches are around their team. Urban Meyer was a great leader because everybody bought into what Urban does because of what he's done in the past. Ryan Day, I think, is a great coach. I think he's got a lot to learn about being a leader. I was disappointed. I love Ryan Day. I was disappointed with his interview after.
Yeah.
When, as part of the media, when the media puts you on that spotlight in the locker room, it's all dark in there, right? It's as dark can be. And he says that he's disappointed, he's angry. And when the reporter says, well, what are you angry about? Well, we had calls that didn't go our way. You always have calls that don't go your way. You always do. As a coach, as a human in life, you don't always get what you want. Things don't go your way all the time. But it's how you react. And you know how Ohio State reacted? The same way their fans did. Point the finger at somebody else. Take responsibility for who you are and what you're doing. You know, if you get the L, if you get handed the L, eat it. Eat the L. I'm because I know what we're talking about next. What's the response going to be like at Ohio State in 2020? They're going to be hungry. They're going to be pissed. But the reality is, Michael, at the end of the day, if I've got a coach that's pointing the finger at somebody else, that's going to trickle down.
Yeah.
The expectations have to be higher at Ohio State. If Dabo Swinney did that, I'll put this out there. Jim Tressel is my favorite coach of all time. He's one of my favorite people, one of my favorite human beings of all time. You would never in a million years catch him pointing the finger at the referees on national television the way Ryan Day did. And I was disappointed. And again, I'm a Ryan Day fan. But I was disappointed in the reaction. I also don't think that the media should be allowed to interview the losing coach for a half hour to an hour because that was fresh. That is raw. And if you watch this battle tested, you're going to see Lincoln Riley, you're going to see Dabo, you're going to see Coach O down at LSU, and you're going to see Ryan Day, and you can immediately see the difference in all four of these coaches. It's evident. Ryan Day is not a people person. He does not want to do media, doesn't want to do any of this stuff that coaches are now required to do in the presence of being a media company or a conglomerate or one of those top schools in the nation. And I think the biggest thing for Ohio State to do is let Ryan grow. Let Coach Day grow with this program.
And how old is he?
I don't know.
He's
a
in
young
his
coach.
30s. He's a young coach. He's got a lot to learn. He's only been he was a interim head coach just last year. And he led his team to 3 wins. I think that's when he proved he's going to be the next coach at Ohio State when Urban Meyer finally hangs up the hat. That's when we all realized that.
Well, he's 40 years old.
40.
And he's from Manchester, New Hampshire.
Okay. Well, he's still a young coach.
He's a young coach.
He's got a lot to learn.
But listen, he's been through it. I don't think that you can take a position like that or Ohio State would hand over the keys to the Lamborghini that is the Ohio State football program.
But you're right. They saw something in him.
And I see it too. I just think this caught him by surprise. I mean, if you were going to stand up and say you're the number one team and you've got the stones after you win the Big Ten title, say you should be and you are deserving of being the number one team, and there is no doubt with what you've done, with your body of work, that you should be the number one team in the country, and that's what you say after you lose. I think there's a lot of parents, I think there's a lot of fans that should be disappointed in that. Because there's two schools of thought. He either wanted to be number one so he could play Oklahoma and get a free pass into that national championship game, or he truly believes he's number one, and it shouldn't matter who's lining up across from him. Clemson's a good football team. They had every right to be number one, right?
Yeah.
As did Ohio State, as did LSU. This is why, as we talked about last week, the 18 playoff is going to work. It's going to work better because now you've got 3 rungs, 3 brackets you got to go through to be champion, 3 games. And at the end of the day, Ohio State was not the best team, and there's a bunch of fans, a bunch of players, a bunch of coaches that do not want to admit it. LSU will have a better game with Clemson than they ever would have with Ohio State. And that's just straight up. Because do you really want to see a matchup of a guy who you didn't really want there, Joe Burrow, who is now the best quarterback in the country, and you pick Justin Fields? That's your guy? Joe Burrow would have he put 7. Wow. He put 7 in one half. What do you think he does to the Ohio State defense that gave up 4-play 90 yards drive with the game on the line? What do you think he does?
I'll say this. I don't think he puts up 7. I don't even think he puts up 5.
Oh! You watch your mouth when you talk about Joe Burrow like that.
He puts up 4. Easy.
In a
300
game?
yards, 4 touchdowns. But Ohio State, if they keep playing in that game, they get weighed back in that secondary against LSU's wide receivers. That'd be a matchup for the ages. You got Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Thaddeus Moss, those guys going up against Jeff Okudah, Sean Wade, Jordan Fuller, Damon Arnett. That'd be a matchup for the ages. And even though Chase Young didn't get anything, didn't do really anything on the stat sheet, he was still getting pressure on Lawrence. He was getting into the backfield, rushing throws. It's just he got comfortable in that pocket. That's what happened. He got comfortable in there to make those throws.
See, I don't think he was comfortable. So you watch some of the plays that
he was comfortable at the end of the game.
At the end of the game, absolutely, because he had momentum. He had that comfort of, hey, we can win this. We took the lead. We can win this. And Ohio State was playing scared. They were playing not to lose as opposed to playing to win. When they were loose, beginning of the game, bringing everybody, Lawrence was in big trouble. Big trouble. But it's like I always say during my broadcast when there's a close game. There's two kinds of pressure, the ones that burst pipes and the ones that create diamonds. One side on that field was a pipe. The other side was a diamond. And the diamond team ended up winning because Clemson is used to playing these games. Ohio State pound their chest all season long. We beat this team by this much. We beat this team by this much. We beat this team by that. Great. Can you win a close ball game? That was the knock on them all season long. Can you win a close ball game? And they proved, at least to me, that they couldn't. When the chips are all on the table and everybody's all in and all eyes are on you, your best against their best. They weren't good enough. The cards weren't good enough, which leads us right into your next topic, Ohio State 2020, the too soon preview. They got a lot of work to do.
They do. They have work to do. And I think that they did a good job getting this 2020 recruiting class. They got the number 1 overall recruit, Julian Fleming. They've got G. Scott coming in, one of the most physical wide receivers in the class. They've got Paris Johnson Jr., the top offensive lineman. And considering you got 3 linemen coming back, and you've got Johnson and then Nick Petit-Frere, redshirt freshman from this year, sitting on the sideline, another 5-star recruit coming out of high school. This offensive line's looking pretty good. You got Fields coming back. Master Teague is definitely going to be a shock to a lot of people, I think.
I don't think he's the guy.
He might not be the guy, but he's going to have a good season if that's who they end up going with. But I don't know. Not a lot of people looking at this, though. But Miami just had a 5-star recruit from the 2018 class decommit, Lorenzo Lingard. Number 2 back in the class, and Ohio State's looking at him pretty hard. Bring him in.
And then you've got a double-headed monster, which is exactly what they need.
2 5-stars in the backfield.
Yep.
You've got Garrett Wilson. I think he was a 5-star coming out of high school.
Okay.
Julian Fleming, a 5-star coming out of high school. Chris Olave, who I think he's going to come back next season better. Him and Fields, I hope this is what happens, and I think that they are going to build a better connection this offseason so that they know what to do coming into next year. Because the connection, it was somewhat there, but Olave was getting wide open all the time. No wonder Fields was hitting him. Now that he's finally getting covered, and he's got to make a couple plays, Fields and him weren't connecting on a lot.
Well, Fields also has to build a bigger repertoire of who he's going to. And I think with Ohio State's recruits, they're going to be able to do that. They focused on receiving, and it showed. So it's going to be interesting to see because it's one of the first times in a long time Ohio State's focused on the guys on the outside.
Yeah, and their receivers, I think they're going to be the best receiving core in the country next year.
The question is, can their defense step up? That's going to be their knock.
That's the big knock. And Shaun Wade this Saturday, he's announcing if he's going to the NFL or not. You keep him in the secondary. You need to have one veteran in there. 3 of the 4 are gone.
So let me
keep
ask you,
Wade,
because you're younger. This is kind of more your generation than it is mine. But I have some looks at. You said that Wade is going to announce it this Saturday. So what is the? Why does everything have to be such a showcase? Like, just say you're staying.
I don't know why it's such a big showcase. Like, Wade is the only one who's doing this. J.K. Dobbins just posted a letter on his Instagram thanking Ohio State. Okuda, same thing. Other people, they have ceremonies, Cardale Jones had a press conference to announce he was staying.
Yep.
I hope Wade does the same thing with his ceremony, but
stop with not everything has to be a ceremony. Not everything is worth a ceremony. And even like guys that put it out, like professional videos on Instagram or on Facebook or on Twitter, wherever, on social media, they put it out there. Like, I get it. This is your moment to announce. But like, wouldn't you rather just Like, I like the guys that put a thank you letter
Yeah.
in the newspaper or on their personal accounts, because it does cost money to advertise in the newspaper, but it's an opportunity for guys to give the thumbs up and say thank you and the tip of a cap and all that stuff. The press conference is what you do when you announce when you're going to school, right?
Yeah.
You don't need to have another press conference to announce that you're staying in school, because that
Or
should
leaving
be
to go to the NFL.
Yeah, well, if you're leaving to go to the NFL, fine. I get that. But again, like, let's not make this a 50-50 thing where, guess where I'm going, and then you announce that you're staying. Like, okay, cool, you could have done that in the library. Like, thanks, appreciate it. We'll see you later. Because then what changes? Absolutely nothing. I guess one thing changes. It could change the odds of which team wins the national championship next year in Vegas. But it doesn't change a thing. Because if you don't think that his teammates already know, that his coaches don't already know if he's staying, you're out of your mind. And if he is doing that, if he is keeping everybody in jeopardy,
then I think he should just go.
That's a problem.
Just go. You need to have communication with your teammates, your coaches, everybody that's close to you on that team. I think that they need to know right now. He needs to have told them their decision so that they know what they want to do. So that they know before the next signing period in February if they need to go out and get another DB recruit. Because they got 3 coming in right now that are very good. DB, they got Ryan Watts, 4-star, 2 safeties, Lathan Ransom. He's a 5-star, top 30 recruit.
Yep.
They got Lejon Cervezos. He's a 4-star, top 50 recruit. If they play them all as freshmen, they need a veteran leader in that secondary, in that defensive backfield. And that's going to need to be Sean Wade. So he needs to tell them right now if they need to go out and get another DB recruit and just hope the freshmen ball out.
This might be the
like Amir Reed, not to knock on him, he'd be a pretty good player if Sean Wade does indeed leave, or maybe to keep Ryan Watts on the bench for a year. Amir Reed is a decent DB. He's nothing special like Sean Wade is.
I just think it's disrespectful to keep your coaches, your teammates in limbo. If you're staying, just say you're staying, and then keep on keeping on. And yes, I feel like an old man who walked uphill both ways to school in the winter. But reality is we live in a different generation. Everything's about the name on the back of the jersey as opposed to the name on the front. And what frustrates me is guys like this. Like, if you're looking at Coach Day, outside his talent, do you want character like that on your team, that he makes everything about himself?
I don't know.
I don't.
Probably not.
I don't at all.
And so that's going to be the roster preview. They got a couple linebacker commits coming in. The All-American game, I don't know when that is, but Ohio State's got a boatload of talent in there. It's going to be fun to watch.
Where does this team end up in the rankings that come out?
They're going to end up number 2.
2.
Clemson.
Clemson's going to be your number 1 overall.
Whether they win the national championship or not, whether it's a blowout or not, you got Trevor Lawrence coming back. I don't know about ETN, but that entire team coming back again pretty much.
Well, that's the thing.
And Sweeney's got his team. No matter what they do, they finally deserve that respect because Lawrence came out just like gunshot this year.
Yep.
And he was still a sophomore, so people still have their doubts. Now, there's going to be no doubt going into next year. Clemson wins out. No matter who they play, they're going to be number 1 the whole way. So that leaves Ohio State to be 2, I think.
Well, you have it on here, the national title preview. What I would ask is we save it for next week.
Okay, we will. Let's do that. Yes.
That gives us something to talk about. We're not repetitive.
Yeah.
And we can battle back and forth because I think we're going to have differing opinions on that.
Okay.
All right.
I'm just going to say this right now. I don't know if you want to make your 2020 early, way too soon playoff predictions. I'm going 1 Clemson, 2 Ohio State, 3 Auburn, 4 Oregon.
Auburn and Alabama's still not in it.
No. I think Tua leaves. Bryce Young, he's going to be a young QB coming in for Alabama, but the dynasty is dead, I think. I don't think Saban has enough in him to make another run.
Dynasty's dead. Yeah, it's too early for me to pick. I think there's a lot of chips that are going to fall between now and
just what I've seen.
But I
think
agree.
That's who's going to make it.
I would agree with you. And listen, again, I don't want to tell people that I'm not an Ohio State. I'm an Ohio guy through and through. I am. But the reality is again, let's stop making excuses for these guys. Like
They lost the game.
They lost
we
the
lost
game.
the game. Let's come back next year stronger.
That's it.
And I think this is a loss that Ohio State can build off of for next season.
I agree with you.
They can look at this and go, okay, we need to get better in this in the offseason. We need to get better in this in the offseason. They can use that as the chip on their shoulder. We lost a game that, we probably should have won.
Well,
So let's go back and avenge it next season.
At the end of the day, while the Big Ten rings are great, right, to win the Big Ten.
You got to win the national title ring.
It doesn't mean nearly as much as that national title anymore. Nearly. Because the Big Ten has been a power conference, but now people want to compare it to the best conference. Say it's the best conference.
You got to win that national title.
You got to beat the ACC. You certainly got to beat the ACC.
Even if Clemson is a team that is good enough to win the SEC, you got to beat the ACC.
Got to beat them. Got to beat them.
And what I want to see is one of two things. Clemson, whether it's 3 years down the road, get to a competitive conference. Want to see a competitive regular season with Clemson? Either do it getting to another conference, or tell Florida State, tell Louisville, get back in it. Give Clemson some ACC competition. Get Miami back into it. I don't know how that's going to happen. That's a monstrosity down there. But get a team or two in the ACC to be competitive with Clemson. Even if they win those games, get competitive with them.
It's going to be interesting.
Clemson's got to go back to Notre Dame next year. Can Notre Dame finally get back and be competitive? No. That's what sucks.
No.
Even though Ian Book's going to have some experience, and people are saying Notre Dame's going to have a shot.
Nope.
No. They're going to get there.
Those are the same guys and gals that have said it.
Now, hopefully Norvell can get Florida State to a spot. Manny Diaz can do something with that Miami Hurricanes team. Just give Clemson some competition, man. I don't want to see a 13-0 ACC champion every year just making the playoff. Then we get to see them play a competitive game. We won't. Everybody wants to see them play in a competitive game. They want to know what their label is going to be when it comes down to it, when it comes down to the clutch moment.
Right. All right, let's turn the page to the NFL. You have it here, playoff predictions. So far, your boy DJ Yoakley is
1 for 1 with that Titans pick.
1 for 1. Go Titans.
1 for 1 with the Titans
but
pick.
I kind of contradicted myself if you think about it, because I didn't expect New England, as you picked, to lose to Miami. No, wait, I take that back. You were the other way around. You said New England.
Oh no, I did. I said New England
easy victory.
No,
over Miami.
I said New England would lose the first ring.
And here we are.
Here we are.
So now,
give Brian Flores a lot of credit. That Miami team was one of the historically worst teams, and he grinded out 5 tough wins, one against New England. Give that guy a lot of credit for what he did in Miami. I see big things for that team in the near future.
I don't.
I think they end up getting Tua this year in the draft.
Oh, why? Why would you want that?
Because how long is Fitzpatrick going to last?
Oh, I agree with you. But
what has Josh Rosen done?
I agree with that.
They need a quarterback, and I think Tua is going to fall right in their lap.
How many times they're turning into the Browns? How many times do you need to pick a quarterback? Oh, here's the other thing. Here's another one that I think they can go after.
Who was their quarterback last year? They've had a lot of veteran quarterbacks.
Right, but they just keep – it's like the Pirates. They just keep going off the trash heap and picking quarterbacks. And then That's
why I think they're going with Tua to get a permanent solution. I don't think Rosen was ever going to be a permanent solution. He's going to be the backup in Miami
on the bench
forever.
right now in Tennessee that probably isn't going to be there much longer, and
Marcus Mariota.
He would benefit greatly from a team in the southern part of the United States that would rally around him and can play the same way. Really, all you're looking at is Tannehill for Mariota straight-up trade is what you're looking at. Because I think Mariota ends up in Miami. I think they roll the dice on Mariota.
You don't think they're going to draft a quarterback?
I don't.
Ooh.
I don't. I think they have a lot more. Because you look at – here's the problem. You look at everywhere that they let these players go, right? So they had I'm drawing a blank. Out in Arizona right now, they had a player – a running back, just scored 4 touchdowns in a game.
Kenyon Drake.
Thank you, Kenyon Drake. They had him, drafted him, wanted him to be the guy. Said he wasn't. He was a wasted pick. He goes out in Arizona and lights it on fire. Okay? Maybe at some point, again,
you got to look at the development.
It all comes down to accountability.
Player development, accountability. Kenyon Drake was drafted last season, and last season he, of course, finished the Miracle in Miami. He finished that iconic play. That's all he's ever going to be known for in Miami. He didn't do anything in Miami. Nothing to knock on Brian Flores.
Has he had the opportunity to grow?
No, not in Miami. In Arizona, he's had the opportunity to grow, especially when you're battling with David Johnson and Chase Edmonds, who both have had great seasons up to that point.
Yep.
And then you become the guy in Arizona. You prove it, and then you go out on the field and show why you're the guy in Arizona.
And that's the thing, is Miami is so quick to pull the trigger on everybody, right? Now you're out. You're not who we drafted. You're not bringing the caliber of what we thought you could be, so you're gone after one season. Listen.
And that's the same thing Arizona did with Josh Rosen.
They just gave us we gave them a first-round draft pick, and we got their top talent in the backfield, in the defensive backfield.
Minkah Fitzpatrick.
And Minkah Fitzpatrick, exactly. So
now,
when you look at it, what were we going to draft this year? What were we going to draft? I should stop saying we. What are the Steelers going to draft this year that is going to live up to Minkah Fitzpatrick in a first-round draft scenario? They're not. They got every bit of that first-round draft pick.
They did.
And I was mad when it happened.
And I was skeptical too.
But he turned in quickly to our best defender on the field.
In the defensive backfield?
I think.
Or overall?
What he did, and I know what you're going to say, is T.J. Watt. Right? Is that look you're giving me right now? Okay.
T.J. Watt is both good in coverage and blitzing the quarterback.
But listen, if they've got to worry about Minkah Fitzpatrick, because let's just be honest, our defensive backfield, the first quarter of the season, was a Garbino. Hot Garbino. You had one guy,
bad. It was
and
bad.
All of a sudden, T.J. Watt becomes J.J. Watt, the second coming. And that's what we drafted.
And Joe Hayden becomes the best Joe Hayden we've seen in a while.
That's the thing. How long did we have
I think it was the Minkah effect.
And that's exactly what it was. It's the Polamalu effect. It's the same thing that happened when we drafted Troy. Is you get one guy that people are afraid to throw at and then can create chaos 10 yards, 15 yards, 20 yards down the field. And all of a sudden those guys on the edges can blitz a little more. They can do a little more, and they can showcase their talent because why? Quarterbacks have to actually look where they're throwing the ball now. And with Minkah Fitzpatrick just floating around out there, and 45-year-old Joe Hayden, who couldn't catch a ball, all of a sudden is out there catching passes, recovering fumbles, getting down and dirty. This is what the Steelers are building towards. Like when we lost Troy Polamalu, we lost more than Troy Polamalu. We lost everything, and our defense went completely to hot diggity garbage. So I think at the end of the day, when you look at it, Minkah Fitzpatrick to me was the MVP. You can't take away what T.J. Watt did, and I'm not trying to. But he doesn't get it done without Minkah Fitzpatrick patrolling the range back there.
Absolutely, and I think that nowadays MVPs come off the stat sheet. Lamar Jackson looks great, but he's the stat sheet MVP. I still think that Christian McCaffrey, people put him in the MVP race. Why? The stat sheet.
Yeah, I get it.
Now, Lamar Jackson deserves it because he has done a lot on the field as well.
He passes the eye test.
He passes the eye test. He passes the stat sheet test. You got to hate it.
That dude makes me want to throw up.
Does.
Because everybody had an opportunity to draft him, and you just sit there and you go, he's got upside, but...
Got a lot of downside.
Yep.
And then he learned to throw this offseason.
And all of a sudden he's
unstoppable.
Dangerous. I still don't think that they make rumbles in the playoffs. And I know we're going to talk about it here in a second.
Okay.
But I don't think he's built to last.
He might not be.
All right,
and in the playoffs last year, even though he still wasn't the dual threat, insane guy we have now.
Lost to San Diego, man.
Lost to San Diego at home. You got a home field advantage in the playoffs playing San Diego.
Los Angeles, sorry. Yeah, I know there's...
Well, it was San Diego last year.
There's 7 Chargers fans out there that are going to jump down our throat.
I know. But...
Sorry, Phil Rivers.
You know, you can't lose to the Chargers at home in the playoffs.
Can't lose the Chargers at all. I'm sorry. Like, if you lose the Chargers, don't go to the playoffs.
No.
Playoff predictions. Now that everything's set.
Where do you want to start?
You start it. This is your show.
No, you tell me to start AFC or NFC.
AFC.
We're going to start AFC. First round, Texans hosting the Bills, 4 versus 5. I think
Texans.
the home team gets it done. Texans wins.
Texans, I'll take. And J.J. Watt comes back. That place is
JJ
going to be electric.
Insane.
Electric.
And now it comes down to who they play in the second round, the Ravens or the Chiefs. And that comes down to who wins. The Patriots, for the first time since 2009, are playing Wild Card Weekend against the 6th seed, your labeled most dangerous team in the playoffs, Tennessee Titans.
Before we do this, I know we talked about it after the podcast last time. There's only one team that has not played in Wild Card Weekend
In the decade.
in the decade.
And it's New England. And
No.
they start off-
There was two, and now
Oh,
there's
there was
only
two.
one.
Now it's Cleveland is the one.
Cleveland is
that's
the
left.
only team that has never played in a wild card game in the decade. So, I guess
Well, now it's
technically-
going to be the new decade. We're gonna call this, since it was a part of the 19th season. Let's say that was a part of the decade.
Well, the decade technically
Let's
doesn't
say
turn
a
over
decade.
until 2021. So
yeah, you
it's-
are right.
it's still within it. And now the Browns are the only team that have not played in that wild card weekend. Congratulations, Cleveland. That's what you win. All right.
You were in a stat sheet with the Patriots, and now you're all alone.
Congratulations. And now you don't have
Courtesy
a
of
coach,
Miami.
GM, or any chance of anything in 2020.
Now the Titans, Tannehill, he's great. And Stephon Gilmore has been asleep for 3 weeks. There's a big chance he wakes up, but there's also a big chance he stays sleeping, guarding whoever he's going to guard, whether it's Brown or any of their other threats. They've got a lot of unknown threats.
So you're taking?
Derrick Henry, he's been the best he's the NFL rushing champion,
Yep.
best running back when it comes down to crunch time.
Also one of my favorite stats to tell a Browns fan right now. Because all I heard about was Nick Chubb for 14 weeks.
They passed up Derrick Henry.
See ya.
Man, they've been terrible.
So who you got?
Everything. Tom Brady showed last week that it's gone. His New England magic is gone. You can't lose to the Dolphins at home and still say
They do it every year. They lose to the Dolphins once every year.
they lose to the Dolphins. But that Dolphins loss was the first time that the Patriots and Tom Brady have lost a meaningful game at home against the Dolphins in 15 years.
Okay, I respect that.
Tom Brady has lost not just a step, every step.
Oh!
You can't put up 24 against the Dolphins defense that would get torn up by college offenses.
You poked the bear, man. You poked the bear.
I don't care if I poked the bear. The bear is going down. Tennessee wins.
Score.
They will defeat New England at home by the final score of 28-20. They will win by 8.
Patriots win 31-17.
You're going with the
Not
blowout.
even close.
Not even close.
Not even close.
I think Tennessee finally.
They poked the bear. And listen, Tennessee, the most dangerous team in the NFL. However, the Dolphins, just like you, have poked the bear. And guess what?
Tennessee has to suffer.
I guess they poked the goat. Because you poke the goat, you're going to get the 6 rings. And now,
Shoved down your throat.
yep. And now
And Tennessee
it's-
has to suffer for what Miami did.
And that's it. But here's the beautiful, what people aren't thinking about. And the Patriots are just crafty enough, no pun intended, to think about this and to draw this up their way. So if the Patriots win, they go play who?
They got to go play
The Chiefs.
Kansas City, the team that took that first round bye from them.
The team that they can beat handily.
But remember what happened earlier this
I
year?
remember.
At Gillette, prime time, biggest game at Gillette this season.
Pouring down rain.
Kansas City does it. You go to Arrowhead, even if Kansas City wins, even if New England wins that wild card game, Kansas City gets it done again.
Give me a team that you don't have any faith in the AFC.
Buffalo Bills.
Okay? My team, the Kansas City Chiefs.
Wow, really?
Kansas City Chiefs.
Kansas City Chiefs.
Because here's the thing. They have not shown me that they can win consistently. The big game.
Respectable.
The big game.
Respectable.
Because when it all boils down to this, when the bright lights are on and they are shining right away, because you and I both know at the end of the day that these lights are going to be bright. This is a big-time year in the NFL. This is year number 100. If you've got the Patriots and the greatest of all time going up against Patrick Mahomes, which last year everybody thought was the second coming.
I mean, I still think he is the second coming. I just think that last year he was so crafty. He was just a highlight reel waiting to happen. This year, he hasn't been a highlight reel because he's making the smart decisions. He's simpling it down.
Jury's out. You can't be Patrick Mahomes and simplify your offense. You've got to be Patrick Mahomes that's razzle-dazzle, that it wants to stack up MVPs, stuff. You've got to pick out which quarterback you want to be. And Patrick Mahomes, so far this year, has proved to me that he's got a complex that he doesn't know what quarterback he wants to be. He doesn't know if he wants to be a pocket passer or the razzle-dazzle that we saw last year. I don't even say that it's a scrambler. It's a razzle-dazzle, move it outside, and chuck it 70 yards downfield for a touchdown. I don't think that the Chiefs have the weapons to beat New England in the playoffs.
Okay.
The playoffs are a different breed,
monster.
And it's a different monster. You're exactly right. So
okay.
Give me New England, and I will put them into the AFC Championship.
Okay. So you got Kansas City versus Houston, and then you got Baltimore versus Tennessee in mine. Tennessee is not going to survive Baltimore. Baltimore is going to be the toughest place to play in the playoffs. Baltimore wins handily. I'm not going to give a score prediction because I don't know. I think Ravens are going to put up 30 plus.
Okay.
And Tennessee will not put up 20.
And the other side of it?
Other side of it, it's going to be a very close game. J.J. Watt is going to get some pressure on Patrick Mahomes. It is going to be a battle in Arrowhead. I don't even know. I hate to do it, but I'm going 1 versus 2 in the championship game. Kansas City gets it done. I'm going to say in overtime.
That's vanilla pudding, dude. In overtime? Come on.
In overtime.
1 versus 2 in overtime.
No, I say Kansas City beats Houston in overtime.
Ooh.
It's going to be a close game between Kansas City and Houston. And then I think Baltimore, they've lost to Kansas City. At Kansas City, they're going to have a chip on their shoulder. They're going to have revenge on their minds. I think they win by 13.
Okay.
So Baltimore gets to the playoffs very easily.
And, of course, you have mine on the other side. It's Baltimore versus New England.
And you're going to have New England.
You got it. You got it. Back in the Super Bowl where they lose. They lose.
Okay.
They lose.
Okay, NFC side.
Because where's the Super
card.
Bowl? Miami.
Oh, it's Miami this year.
And who doesn't play well in Miami?
New England.
New England.
Ooh. Okay. NFC side. Let's go 4 versus 5 first. Philly hosting Seattle. Nobody thinks Philly can get it done. Pete Carroll just handles Philadelphia wherever they play him. Upset of the playoffs. Eagles make the divisional round.
You're calling it.
I say Philly beats Seattle. The practice squad defeats the should have been NFC West champions.
Nope. Sorry.
You don't think that's the way it can happen?
I don't know. Not with Beast Mode. They got some swagger back.
What did Beast Mode do?
Touchdown. He got a touchdown.
On the 1 yard line. They gave it to him on the 1 yard line.
What's he supposed to do?
5 years too late.
What's he supposed
5 years too late. And then they're on the 1 yard line again at the end of the game, and they take a delay of game penalty. The 1 yard line versus Pete Carroll is the ultimate rivalry in the NFL right now.
That is your pick right there that you got to hang your hat on if it happens. Philly over Seattle. And I'm not taking it. I'm not buying it.
No way.
Nice try, young man.
3 versus 6. Vikings playing the Saints. Saints. All the way. Kirk Cousins. He doesn't just lose in Monday Night Football. 0-9 there. He hasn't been able to win the big game like Case Keenum was able to do against the Saints. Everybody keeps bringing up the Minneapolis Miracle. Could we see a repeat? No. I think the Saints dominate.
How many? How many points?
Saints win by 24.
Oh, wow. You are not just taking it, like, laying down. You're laying it on them.
Saints win by 24.
I'll take the Saints as well. I don't think it's 24. I think it's maybe 14.
Okay.
10 I think 10 to 14 is your range there.
Okay.
But I'll take the Saints, even though I kind of want to take the Vikings. But I would, giving my pick away, the Saints are my Super Bowl champions, and Drew Brees rides off into the sunset.
The question is, who do you have in the NFC Championship?
Well, let's get there.
Okay. 49ers, 1 seed. They got to play Philadelphia now, and that's where the story ends. 49ers, yes, it ends.
Okay.
It ends. I'm not taking Philly that far. Not that far. Philly has the game at home. I think that's the difference in beating Seattle. I just think the home field advantage is going to be enough for the Philadelphia practice squad Eagles to win.
I'll take the San Fran 49ers as well. And
Okay. And then you got the Packers versus the Saints. You've already given it away. I'm going with you. New Orleans wins on the road. Now,
I can't
no
stand
knock
Aaron
on the
Rodgers.
Packers. I can't see Aaron Rodgers getting it done.
Nope. Not with what he's got around him.
New Orleans.
Nope. That defense is going to swarm him,
Yes.
give him trouble. I don't care if it's in Lambeau. I don't care if it's in Miami. I don't care if it's in Russia. It's the Saints all day because they've got that swagger back. They are ready. They don't need AB. They're going to take Aaron Rodgers to task, and discount double check is going to have to wait another year.
Okay. And the Packers, people are labeling them the worst 13-3 team in NFL history.
Agreed.
You agree with that?
I agree with that.
They're one of the worst, I will say that. I don't think they're the worst.
They just beat the Lions by a field goal. That's the Lions. That's the celebration that you get. You beat the Lions and you're celebrating off the field. Come on, man. I feel like I'm on it. Come on, man.
I mean, I can see that. I can see that being the label. They are one of the worst 13-3 teams. They just had a schedule that they could just run through. They could just go.
They should be
straight
15-1,
through.
14-2.
They should be.
And I know that's
And
only
they should
one
have
game.
the 1 seed.
They should.
They should have the 1 seed. And they got dismantled by San Francisco. I don't even think they want to go back there. So I got San Francisco versus New Orleans.
Same.
I'm going to take the 1 seed, San Francisco, 1 versus 1.
Jimmy G.
Jimmy G proved it to me this Sunday night. You go on the road to Seattle in that hostile environment with everything on the line.
Yep.
Everything. The 1 seed, home field advantage, or are you going to go to Philadelphia and play a game and then risk having to go back to Seattle where you just lost?
But
you beat Seattle with the help of the 1-yard line. But, man, the end of that game, that could not have been a better game.
Right.
I thought Hollister had it for a second, and it's such a game of inches because it almost looks like the nose of the football is right on the tip of the goal line. Not enough to overturn it, but I think I wouldn't have been questioning it at all if they would have called that a touchdown. There was a view I thought that might have overturned it, but it didn't.
It's got to
But
be
that was a great game.
conclusive evidence,
Gotta
right?
be conclusive. I don't think there was conclusive in the Ohio State game, but
Oh, goodness. Give it up. And the
All
other
right.
way, I'm going Saints.
You're
I
going
think
Saints.
Jimmy G's a year away for me.
okay.
I think they're a year
1
away.
year for Jimmy G.
Yep, because I think next year's Super Bowl is Pittsburgh, San Francisco,
Really?
which I would love.
I would love that too.
I'd love to go see that Super Bowl in person because that was 2 of my favorite teams growing up playing each other in a Super Bowl that the winner gets either Super Bowl number 6 or Super Bowl number 7. That'd be a fantastic Super Bowl. But I am taking the Saints this year. Drew Brees is going to ride this out. And here's a spoiler alert, so earmuffs if you don't want to hear it. But Drew Brees and Tom Brady retire this year.
Really?
This
you think
year-
Tom Brady retires?
I think Tom, to your point, Michael, I think Tom Brady has seen enough that you don't want to water down the
And I
legacy. But I think he's still got one more run.
There's
And I
one.
think the NFL being, and I'm not saying that the NFL is rigged, but I will say this, having 2 of the greatest quarterbacks of all time playing in year number 100 in a Super Bowl is going to sell a lot of tickets. It's going to put a lot of eyes on the NFL which have never been seen. And I think, personally, that Drew Brees has a chip on his shoulder because when they released the 10 greatest quarterbacks of all time,
the NFL 100 list, where is Drew Brees?
Past Peyton
Sammy
Manning.
Baugh and Otto Graham over Drew
Otto Graham.
Brees.
I give him credit.
Who created this list? Robert Kraft's great-grandfather?
Jeez, oh man.
It's a terrible list. I think that the NFL 100 all-time team,
I was mad when
it
there
was
was no
great.
Terry Bradshaw.
It was terrible.
I was
No
mad.
Terry Bradshaw, but I can see it.
But I get it. But when you
But
look
no
at...
Franco Harris in the running back section?
See, that doesn't make me mad.
That makes me very mad.
That's...
What Steelers got on that list?
I think Joe Green. I believe I saw...
Should have.
Yeah.
By a long
The
shot.
Steelers are well represented, I believe.
They should be well represented.
And they should be. But reality is, Drew Brees, I got to say, he's the greatest quarterback of all time.
You got Drew Brees as the GOAT.
I do. When you pass
Okay.
up, when you want to talk about statistics, what statistics?
And I'm saying that Drew Brees has every statistic in his favor.
He does.
Every statistic in his favor. But my argument earlier was statistics are what determine MVPs nowadays. Tom Brady, he has statistics of leading his team. He's got the statistics that are the eye test. That's why everybody considers him the GOAT. Drew Brees is one of them. But I think that the eye test is truly what determines who are the best players.
Listen, I
not
get
the
it.
stat sheet.
I get it. But at the same time, there's been things that Tom Brady has not had to deal with that Drew Brees has. And, you know,
Tom Brady has not had great adversity outside of the 28-3 Falcons game.
nope.
Drew Brees has had to deal with
Bounty
the
gate.
he
He wasn't even a part of it, and he has to answer for it. He
Yeah.
gets hurt because of it. He doesn't have his coach for a season. I mean, you look at all the stuff that Drew Brees has, and Drew Brees isn't your typical quarterback. Drew Brees doesn't have size. But if there's a guy, I said it last week, if there's a guy that the ball's on the 1 yard line, I got 99 yards to go and a minute to do it,
Drew Brees.
Drew Brees gets my football.
And that's who I'm giving my football to.
So at the end of the day, when I look at this opportunity for a Super Bowl 100, essentially, I want to see one that we will never forget. I want to see
I do. I want to see a great Super Bowl.
who's better, Drew Brees and his team,
Or Tom Brady.
and
And
his
I
team.
would love to see that. But
You got Jimmy G.
I got Jimmy G. Because
Because you got
even though
your
it's
AFC
the
team's the
playoffs.
Baltimore Ravens.
Yes.
Oh.
I got Baltimore versus San Francisco in a rematch of one of the greatest games of the year.
That is going to be a stinker of a Super Bowl. Haven't we seen
In
this?
terms of teams and franchises, yes.
The last time these
But I
two
think it's gonna be a
teams
good
met,
game.
It was
20-17, game-winning walk-off field goal.
well, no. I'm talking about the last time
They
these
met
two
in the
a
Super Bowl. It was a terrible
It was a
game.
blackout, and
But who was the head coach of San Francisco? The Michigan failure known as Jim Harbaugh.
the Harbaugh brothers. It was the Harbaugh Bowl.
Yeah, that's the only thing that people paid attention to. Now it's who's the new wave. Is it going to be Lamar Jackson or is Jimmy G going to earn that $134 million?
It's going to be
That's.
neither of them. I'm telling you, they're. When it comes down to
I
it,
want to see the Saints versus the
no, you
versus
don't,
the
because you
Patriots.
just picked Baltimore.
I'm picking based off of how these teams have played this season, based off of
You're
the
picking with your
skill.
brains, not
I'm
with your
picking
heart.
with my brains, not my heart.
Your brains want
My
the
brain
Baltimore,
thinks Baltimore and San Francisco rematch of 2012.
And your heart
My
wants-
heart wants New Orleans versus New England.
and who's your
The
Super Bowl
one you
champion
pick.
with your brain?
San Francisco. Think they have the chip on their shoulder from when they went to Baltimore and lost. They go to Miami, neutral site. And I think Jimmy G earns, rightfully, the $134 million he gets. I think San Francisco's defense gets a lot of credit. Their defensive coordinator, I forget his name, but their defense has been lights out this year. One of the best.
Well, they got Bosa. Bosa's been outstanding.
Bosa's been a monster, but their entire defense just as a whole has come up with stop after stop after stop in
But
crucial
when you have that
times.
many great draft picks in a row, just like Cleveland should be, you
But
tend to put together a good
Cleveland is Cleveland. You expect that to happen.
team. Jeez, oh man. All right, I I know I said New England, but I'm flip-flopping. I'm taking New Orleans to win the Super Bowl.
No, you told me New England was going to lose.
I thought last week.
Last week you said New England was going to win.
Yeah.
Then earlier this show you
I'm
said
taking
New
Orleans. I'm
Okay.
taking New Orleans because I thought about it.
New Orleans and San Francisco, we both agree the NFC.
I think
will
the
win a
NFC is
Super
going to
Bowl.
take it.
Yeah, they're
I just don't think the AFC has enough high power.
They don't.
I'll make a bold prediction that Lamar Jackson gets hurt during the playoff run.
Ooh.
And it costs Baltimore their ticket to anywhere.
Okay.
Because they do not. RG3 is not going to get it done. He can beat
RG3
the Steelers, but he's not going to beat good teams.
No. And I think that Lamar Jackson stays healthy, but who gets hurt is Mark Ingram. And
He's
they have
already
to rely. Yeah, I think he aggravates his injury so much so that he's done. And then when it comes to Lamar Jackson, he's proven he can do it. Not all by himself.
No, I'm with you.
He had a 1,000-yard rusher in his backfield with him all season.
I agree with you. I just don't think. I know you're banking on everybody being healthy, and that's how you have to do picks. But at the end of the day, I don't think Jackson's gonna.
No.
I think he's been lucky to this point. I think during the playoffs, when it's all on the line, there's going to be. I'm not saying he's going to get injured on purpose or somebody's going to purposely go after him, but I think football is football, and it's a high contact sport, which it's like a car wreck every play. I think Lamar gets dinged up, and either his arm, his head, or his legs are not the same after it. So it'll be interesting. It's like I said, that's a bold statement. Not something I want to see, but I think that it's something that's going to happen because as a running quarterback, every play you got the target right there on your chest. So it's going to be interesting, and I think Drew Brees continues. I think he sizzles throughout the playoffs, puts everybody on notice, and like I said, I think he rides off into the sunset. I think this is it for Drew.
Okay, bold prediction time. If Tom Brady leaves New England and doesn't retire,
no,
where do you see him going?
He's not.
But
That's it.
If it happens, where do you see him going?
Doing advertisements for.
If he stays in the NFL, you okay? I clearly see you do not think that's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen either, but there's a chance.
Who would you say he goes to?
Dallas Cowboys.
Stop it.
They're not going to pay Dak Prescott. He's going to ride off into the sunset and do amazing things with somebody. I don't know which team that's going to be, but somebody's going to take Dak because they don't want to pay him because for some reason all of what the coaching staff ruined up is going to fall on his shoulders just because he's the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay, that scenario happens.
It's already happened.
The Washington Redskins jump in on it. Yep.
Okay, so you think Dak Prescott is destined to break his leg?
No, what I'm saying is that the Redskins have always been little brother when it comes to the Cowboys, and they're trying to build what the Cowboys were building. If they don't think
you don't think they think Dwayne Haskins is a future, especially with the way he played his last 2 games of the season?
Listen, I would love Dwayne Haskins to be the guy anywhere, but that's not the way the Redskins think. They go, hey, look at this guy over here, look at this guy over there. Come on, we can give you more money than God. Come play with us, and all of a sudden, they play 4 or 5 games and they're on the shelf, and you never hear from them again. They're that baseball card that's still in your grandma, your grandma's basement that you forgot about, but it was the greatest card at the time. I mean, it'd be a perfect fit for what they're trying to do. But Dak's going to be a Cowboy. Jerry Jones loves Dak Prescott. He's going to get rid of his entire front office to do just what they're trying to do.
Okay.
I've seen the rumors already.
Do you think Jason Garrett's gone?
I've seen rumors that the entire coaching staff is see you later.
Even Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator?
I read, and I know that they're still talking through it, but I saw rumors on, what is that considered, Black Monday, I guess?
Yeah.
That they are getting ready to get rid of the entire coaching staff, including Kellen Moore. So when you look at that, that's a gutsy thing, but
it is.
Jerry Jones has been known to make waves, and I don't think it's a disappointing season given that they gave up their first-round draft pick.
And what they had Amari Cooper, they had Michael Gallup, who I think was one of the more underrated wide receivers.
But when you don't have your best receiver in at the end of the game for 5 plays, 8 plays, whatever that was, it pisses off the owner. What is
Yeah.
he paying this guy for? What is he paying? Somebody messed up there.
And it was Jason Garrett. I don't know how he wasn't gone after the Jets game.
No, I agree with you.
And I don't know how he's still not gone. For the Cowboys, Jason Garrett has got to have some sort of a love for Jason Garrett.
Which leads me to my next
Clap on.
bold prediction.
What's your next bold prediction?
Jason Garrett is the next head coach in Cleveland.
Jason Garrett in Cleveland.
I think it's
Cleveland. Clap on Cleveland.
And here's the crazier part. I think he's successful. Look at that face. Look at that face.
Successful in Cleveland.
I think he's successful. Relative.
And I've heard some rumors, too, about Urban Meyer.
Urban Meyer ain't going to do it.
He's not going to do it, but the Browns have strong interest.
Yes, they also
in
have
doing
strong.
anything.
They had strong interest in who was it? Condoleezza Rice. They've had strong. I mean, we've heard so many strong interests with the Cleveland. Listen, our kids write a list to Santa Claus every year, right? So at the end of the day, whenever they write this list of who is going to be, the next coach to the Cleveland Browns, it's like a list of Santa Claus. Like, it's what you want, but it's not always what you get, right? Santa Claus is a busy man, and at the end of the day, opportunity knocks. Cleveland's not going to get Urban Meyer. Why would Urban Meyer ruin his legacy by being attached to a franchise in such disarray? Such disarray.
Next question. Do you think he would go to the Cowboys?
Urban Meyer?
Yes.
No, I think he's going to be just fine hanging out in Columbus doing his thing.
You don't think he's going to coach ever again?
I didn't say that.
If he were to coach again, college or NFL, where do you think he would go?
I don't know.
I'm going to say USC. Because USC is the university that would give him all the money. And what has Clay Helton done? Worst
I think that program,
recruiting class
I think that program
in 2020.
is so far gone.
I'm on it.
Listen. Urban
I
came back.
hate USC.
Urban came back to Ohio State because it was, number one, a dream job, but it's also a destination because it is a traditional program built around success no matter what.
That program, hate to say it, as much as I hate USC, they have a lot of success within their program. Not currently, but in the past. They've had a lot of success, and I think that they desperately need some head coach to come in and reestablish that legacy, especially when you're last, bottom seller in recruiting in the Pac-12. You can't expect to make a New Year's Six Bowl.
And the more I think about this, the more this makes sense. The only thing Urban Meyer has left to do, in my humble opinion, is to take a team that has so much rich and historic tradition in the game of football and return them to their glory.
That's USC?
Nope. Think about it. We already talked about them once. It's a team that blue and gold.
Oh, no. Michigan?
No.
I was going to say.
Heck no.
He's already shot down Michigan rumors.
Oh, he would. There's no chance.
And honestly,
Notre Dame.
it's still a rivalry. Notre Dame. Okay.
Let's think about that. It gets a little interesting, doesn't it?
It does.
Because that seals his legacy. Imagine if he got
Notre Dame, Florida, and Ohio State national championships. He's the greatest coach of all time.
Bingo. And he's exactly what Notre Dame needs to get him. The recruiting that he does, outstanding. He could take Notre Dame and make them relevant again. And not just from a fan base standpoint. I'm talking from putting them back in the rankings where they need to be, move them up the rankings, put them in position to be in the college football playoffs without joining, which is exactly what they want because everybody right now is trying to get them into a Power 5 conference. They can do it with Urban Meyer and not join a conference, keep all their money, and still become relevant again. That, if it happens at all, is my prediction.
And for Notre Dame, the chips have to fall in the right place, and especially with the schedule. Because the year they made the playoff, their schedule was a cakewalk. You can say they beat Michigan. Michigan that year was the most overrated team in recent history.
Agreed.
They didn't beat anybody that year.
Nope.
And they cakewalked into the playoff just to get it pounded in by Clemson.
Is that going to do it for us today?
I think that's going to do it for us today.
Hour and a half, man. We're stringing it along.
Hour and a half.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lose track of time when you start having fun. I mean, that's some great conversation. I like the back and forth now. Being able, we're friends, but we can also have those great discussions, and you bring a lot of insight to the table. So congratulations on episode number 2, my friend.
All right, thanks, DJ, and thanks, everybody, for tuning in to episode 2. Episode 3 coming next week. National Championship preview, playoff recap of the NFL, and now that the high schools are getting back into action, probably going to be a little more results, maybe some things going on there, probably. So make sure to tune in to episode 3, and thanks for listening to A Look Back with Mac. I'm Michael McKenzie signing off with DJ Yoakley.